Coach, I know you spoke to us the other day about if you knew how to fix some things, you would have already done it. But when you look at film and you go back and see the way your team played against Washington State and Northwestern, is there one thing you can put your finger on that's different the last two games, or is it multiple things that you see?
Well, I haven't went back and watched, the tapes of those particular games you mentioned. But the thing that jumps out at me the most is just our turnover percentage. It's become an Achilles heel for us in a lot of the games, and certainly against Southern, it was the main reason why we lost the game. We certainly could have done better in a lot of other areas, but that was the one area that seems to continue to haunt us the most. If you look at, some of the analytics out there, we're poor at it. We've been poor at it for the majority of the year, and then especially, down the stretch when you got someone down, 10, 11 points, and you got to finish. There's no more time to make up. As the game clock dwindles away, and we had some costly ones. We had some ones that were elevating for us, and main reason again is just decision making, just lack of focus at times, and it's something we got to get better at.
We'll stay front row, middle, go to Justin, and then we'll go to Steph.
Chris, when you have a gut check stretch like this, who are sort of the vocal leaders that you've seen in the past couple of days step up amongst the guys and sort of try to help turn things around?
As far as since Sunday afternoon, that remains to be seen. With finals, like most teams across the country, we have a big gap in games to let them deservingly so focused on their books and taking care of their academics. And so we took yesterday off. That was, always the plan, especially with that much time between games, just to, like I said, to do what they're supposed to be spending their time on. Right now, we'll reconvene, this afternoon, and we'll see. We have a big meeting, obviously, to try to set the tone and figure out, how we go from, being riding high, feeling really good about ourselves, excited, to, losing two in a row.
You talked about, what that last game could do to you guys' resume, but, this one coming up could be around, that quad 2 area. I guess, is that something that, you think could spark the team and give them, kind of motivation going into this, a chance to kind of build that resume back up?
I have a lot of thoughts about that. Some I'll share, some I won't. But one thought is, and it doesn't directly answer your question, but I think some people, coaches, players, fans, administrators, when you lose a game, you just assume that you're going to win the next one, and that's not how it works. There's a price to pay, and there's a lot that goes into winning. It was a big upset, and if you pay attention to college basketball, they happen, I wouldn't say nightly, but in November and December, they happen quite often, certainly multiple in every week, if you really pay attention to each and every score. And that's not to try to diminish or make us feel better, because you don't want it to happen to you. You don't want it to happen to your team and our program. But it does. And it goes to show you how hard winning is. People sometimes like to take it for granted, and I understand that. But it's hard. And these other coaches and these other players, they're doing the same things that we're doing in preparation for winning games, and they're trying to put their best foot forward. And it's tough sometimes. In terms of resumes and things like that, it's way too early to be, talking about that. And there's a lot of games yet to be played. And I know I said that this will stay with us all year long, and it will. Just like, a good win will stay with you, all year long. But it's not going to define us. This game is not going to, just keep us out of the NCAA tournament or have anything to do with, where we end up in the SEC conference race. And so that's one of the things I'm going to talk to the team about today and in our whole program. Like, I'm not happy. You're not happy. Nobody's happy. Okay, our fan base is not happy, and I get that, and I understand that. But in my opinion, this will have little to do with if we go to the NCAA tournament or if we're in the NCAA tournament, what our seed will be. It's certainly not a positive. I understand that. I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I'm not trying to make it less than it is. But at the same time, we've got a lot of games left. I mean, if you look at our schedule, you mentioned Tulane, but then you got Murray State, and then you got North Texas, who's got good numbers. Then you got Rutgers away from home, and then you get into the SEC. And if you look down that schedule with who we've been paired up with, we have so many opportunities the rest of the season to, get right and hopefully have a resume that people are talking about when, there's enough games under your belt where it actually means something.
We'll stay front row left. We'll go to Benjamin and then back to Justin. Again, raise your hands if you got questions for Coach.
Yeah, looking ahead at this game against Tulane, they've got a real high-powered offense with 5 players scoring in double figures. What are going to be some of the keys for you guys to win that game, especially on the defensive end?
Yeah, they got a good basketball team. Coach Hunter is very respected. I've never coached against him, but certainly know who he is and respect his work. They're a unique team. A lot of medium-sized guys with real strong athletic builds. They don't have a ton of 6'10", 6'11" guys running around, but they're highly effective in how they play. They play a unique system again. We're going to see, 39 minutes plus of zone, and we've had more zone this year than I remember, in past years at this point in the season, but that's just how it's played out. So you can look at it two ways, oh gosh, we got to play zone again, but, or you can look at, all the reps we've had that, hopefully we can learn and grow from it and be better. But it's going to be a tall task. I mean, they're a good team. They play a lot of 5 out. They really play fast. They score early. They're known as a 3-point shooting team, but really their strength this year is their 2-point field goal percentage and their ability to score fast, and then they play that zone, which can be tough to play against. So we'll have our hands full for sure.
Going back to all the vocal leader stuff, how much do you feel like this team right now is player-led compared to, I guess, coach-led, and I guess the steps they're taking to get to that point?
Yeah, that's a big, internet, social media, gurus, player-led teams are better than coach-led teams, right? That's what everybody says if you follow those accounts, and I get that. And, in my humble opinion, to find throwback leaders that are willing to, get on their stool in the locker room and give a Rockney speech, and are few and far in between. That's just not how it works anymore, in my opinion. I'm not saying that there's not leadership across the country in different locker rooms. That's not what I'm saying. But these kids today are more apt to, not call each other out and to, just go with the flow and kind of stay in their own little world that way. And that's, in my opinion, more how it is now than it was, back in the day, type of situation. But no question about it, if you're fortunate enough to have players willing, but the willing part's one thing. It's is it received, and players see it. Guys that don't bring it every single day, and aren't coachable or aren't one of your hardest workers, have a hard time trying to lead because they just don't have the respect that's needed to be able to do that. So there's a lot that goes into that, and it sounds good on paper, and we all understand what that means. But I believe in this era that you just better be a leader as a coach, and you better try to do your best to make sure that your ducks in a row, if you will. Now, if you can get some guys behind the scene that are helping with that task, then you're much better off. And hopefully we will. We've got some guys that are definitely capable of it. Tolu Smith is got great capability of doing that, but when you're in street clothes every single day, it's hard to come down on teammates and set the tone, if you will, because you're not doing it, and certainly some other guys like Cam Matthews, has done that in the past, and certainly we're going to need some of that going forward.
We'll go second row middle to Danny P.
So just kind of playing off of Paul's earlier question, the kind of way the direction this is going, you've made shots this year and you've played good defense all the way through, and you mentioned the turnovers. Is it more of a mental thing now, and how easy is that fixed real quickly?
It's not an easy fix. I can promise you that we're in the, I don't know what percentage, but in the upper percentage of teams that work on advantage, disadvantage, that work on just the fundamentals of passing and catching the basketball. I'm a big believer in having a base to your game, and it always goes back to fundamentals. I don't care if you're a high school player, college player, a 10-year NBA vet. I mean, it really goes back to that, and all the work that everybody's putting in on their fundamentals behind the scenes doesn't show out very much, on the highlight videos, on the social media posts, because that's not, no one wants to watch that. But I promise you the best players are always having a fundamental base to, who they are as individuals. And for whatever reason, we're just not being able to get our practice, our work onto the playing floor. And I thought we would be better in that category this year than we are, and I'm hopeful that we can get it turned around. But a lot of it's just a mentality of making simple plays and just slowing down a little bit and not trying to hit the home run and thinking more singles than triples or home runs. But it's not an easy fix, and certainly confidence has something to do with it. So I'm sure most people would expect us to just today and the rest of the week just be hollering and screaming and this and that and the other, but that not necessarily going to make us better. My mentality is we got to get better. We've got to improve, and to do that, they've got to have their mindset squarely where it needs to be, and they have to get some confidence because they're not feeling good about what happened or their performance as a whole, and we've got to get back on that court and get better.
We got time for a couple more. We'll go back to Steph.
It seems like the last couple of games, especially, Jimmy's gotten some more attention inside and drawn some, double, triple teams, I guess. For a guy like that, and I'm sure Tolu went through it a bit last year as well, what do you kind of say to him to, kind of to help him in those situations and maybe avoid, frustrations or anything that comes with that?
Yeah, that's one of the areas that we've been working with Jimmy on since he's arrived is we love him. I'm so glad he's here. I've said that multiple times. He's, about the right stuff, and he's a hard worker, and he's about the team. But he tends to let a play, send him down the wrong path and let his frustration get the best of him, and not just in the game, sometimes in practice. And it doesn't affect him like the whole game, but the next 2 or 3 plays, mentally, he's caught up in what just happened or didn't happen. And it could be anything. It's not one particular thing that will throw him off. And he's acknowledged it. We've talked about him multiple times, and it's something that we're working with him on, and he's getting better at it. He's getting better at it, and and he's a big boy. He would no problem me saying this. I mean, for us, him individually right now, like he's getting more attention, and he's not probably been double teamed that much, with the minutes played, et cetera. And so it's something we're working with him on of handling the ball in traffic and making the right pass read when the double does come. Like we worked with Tolu a ton, last year, expecting that to happen. And so it's a work in progress that way. But, he's so valuable for us. Like, we threw the ball inside probably more than you realize. You'd have to watch the tape and really pay attention. But we really did. And he drew a ton of fouls, and that led us to free throws, later. And we missed some real costly free throws in that game, even though we're shooting a pretty decent percentage overall. But it all comes down to the timing of making them as well. So like all our guys, he's got strengths and weaknesses, but we're working on that particular thing with him.
We'll go to Justin and Tanner to wrap it up.
You guys obviously made the starting lineup change for the first time this season last week or on Sunday. How much more tinkering do you think there still is with that group until Tolu comes back?
Yeah, it remains to be seen. I don't know. That's not something I've really thought about. Certainly, I get the starting lineups, important, more important to some than others. Especially, some players, it's a really big deal. To me, it's more, are you in there when it's hard, right? Or are you on the floor when the games, are turning one way or another, especially if it's a close game late. I mean, that to me is way more valuable, and it shows, your worth, and it shows how we feel about you. And but the starting lineup certainly, I've had teams where we switch it often. I've had teams where it sticks, pretty much the same. So we'll just see how that unfolds.